Hey everyone, and welcome back to the HUFTCAST. Thank you so much everyone who listened to last episode, which was with Brian Niles, where we talked about your own independent career. If you haven't already, go check that out. Today, we're with Seago, who is a documentary filmmaker as well as a co-founder of NFFTY, which is the biggest youth film festival in the world. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode.
It's funny. I think a lot of filmmakers that come through, they make those connections, and then they go off to other festivals, or they go to Sundance and do the Sundance Ignite lab, and so then they remember that as being the way that they're connected with those people. But it actually started at NFFTY, right? And I think that is really interesting that you can kind of trace all of these people back to one place, and you can reach out to anybody from back in that experience and still have that connection, right? Because you were there that year together.
I mean, we know that, like, obviously we all know what NFFTY is, but maybe just for the listeners, if possible, would you be able to like kind of intro NFFTY? And I know you've moved on, but like kind of what's happening with that?
Yeah, I mean, you never really move on from NFFTY, right? It's always a part of you. Yeah, NFFTY is a youth film festival, youth film organization that is now in its 14th year, and it was started here in Seattle, Washington, to support young filmmakers as they were developing and growing in their artistic journey. It was started by young filmmakers who saw a gap in the industry where other young filmmakers weren't being supported by the greater industry by means of film festivals or resources, information about how to get equipment or how to connect with other people that are like-minded. And so the festival was started to fill that gap, and it started very small and organically grew year after year because there was a big need for this sort of thing, not just in Seattle, but across the world. And quickly, I think we outgrew the need in Seattle and started to bring in people from all over the world to come in to the festival, the 4-day festival every year, and network and join forces and see that there's a lot of people out there who are really talented, really smart, but also really, really hungry to work with other young filmmakers and network and create community. And that was the genesis of it. And from there, I think a lot of it is hard to explain. I'm sure you guys can agree with that you can't really put it on paper. But the magic that comes every year at the festival is unmatched. And every year we think we can't do better than we did the previous year. And then we realize that it's not about what we do, it's about the filmmakers and what they do. And they're always going to one up themselves in quality and in energy every year at the festival too. So it's something that's hard to explain, but we're just, a small team trying to keep it going. And I have stepped away for now, but there's a team behind it, and there's a great board of directors behind it. Obviously, the festival's been hit hard by the pandemic as well. A lot of festivals have canceled. Fortunately, NFFTY is in October, so there's still a bit of runway, and hopefully we can still put on a festival, but it may not be the same kind of festival where entries are down, and who knows what kinds of restrictions will still be in place. And I think just the ripple effects of something like this is that people don't have the same amount of time or resources to attend a festival, especially young filmmakers. So, a lot's up in the air, but I think, I've kind of reached a point that whatever happens in the future of NFFTY, I think there's so much that we can hang our hat on as things to be proud of, that we created something, that we helped so many filmmakers out, that we created such a great community of filmmakers that are going to continue to go on. I mean, some have already gone on to win Academy Awards, but I think that's only gonna increase, the amount of awards and accolades, and then eventually, we'll see some of your films on the Criterion Collection, double disc Blu-ray box set. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what the festival is.
Yeah, me and Harvey have been maxing out our free trial of the Criterions. I've got to use my mom's card, my dad's card, my card. But don't worry, I'll be a long-term contributor.
Well, maybe that's a good time to plug. You know, hey, Criterion, maybe we can do like a youth filmmaker discount.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the audience. That's the audience they're not really reaching. You know, is the young filmmakers who really could learn from those films.
I mean, like one interesting thing that you said, and then sometimes maybe it skips past me because I see everyone at NFFTY obviously is, you know, full-grown adults now, but you started it all as kids, as teenagers, in high school, and I actually got the opportunity last year when I was there. The first year I went there in 2018, I made friends with a group of kids who went to this school called Ballard High School. And I was like, how are you guys here? Like, how do you? And they're like, yeah, we went to the same school as Kyle. Like, this is how it was started. I was like, no way. So then the next year I went, I stayed with a friend called Saya who lives in Seattle. He goes to Ballard. And I got the opportunity to go into a film class at Ballard, in the classroom where I imagine it all started for you. And I see all the posters on the wall and all of the news clippings of Seattle high school students start their own festival, all this stuff. And it's crazy to see the progression, because in a weird way, it's so relevant for us because in the same way Harvey started HUFT, Harvey's all started it out because he just feels suffocated by the lack of resources that are available to young people in the industry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that is not a classroom. That's a broom closet that they turned into a classroom at Ballard there. But I'm glad you got to see it. I mean, that is where it all started. Matt Lawrence was our film teacher at Ballard, and single-handedly put together this program that rivals, you know, university programs around the country. Out of that windowless room in the back of the library, you know, that's all the school would give him. And yeah, I went into that program not even being really that interested in film. My mom encouraged me to take the beginner class because my dad's an actor, a theater actor, and I thought I might get into acting. And so she said, well, why don't you take a filmmaking class? Because she heard the program was good. And she only heard the program was good because Jesse Harris went there earlier than I did, a couple years before I did, and then went on and made a feature film when he was 18 and had it distributed in theaters. And he lived a few blocks from me, and I found out that he lived there, and I didn't even know him, and I would go just walk by his house with my dog hoping that he would come outside and ask me to co-direct his next film. So there was this icon of the program that was Jesse, and he had graduated by the time I had gotten into the program. But you know, there was certainly you could smell that there was the opportunity that if you wanted to do something great, you could. The resources were there, that, you know, you just had to put the time in, and you had to be really studious and really creative, and learn to work with other filmmakers. I mean, Matt Lawrence did not allow you to do things on your own. Like he understood that you had to do things as a team. And so you would pitch projects to each other, and then you would vote on which projects you were actually going to make. And often it wasn't your project, right? Like you would put hours into this story and be like, oh, I'm going to pitch this and everyone's going to want to work on my film. And then all of a sudden, you know, Tommy's film gets picked over yours, and you have to swallow your pride and just say, yeah, I'll be your gaffer, or I'll be your DP. Which is that's the real world. You know, you're not always going to start out and get every story you want to come to life. And you have to learn how to do other things, other skills before you might get your chance. And so everything he did in that program just mimicked what you do in real life. And we were 14, 15, but we were making films on the weekend after school, learning Final Cut, learning how to shoot on old DV tapes. You guys are probably too young for DV tapes, but you know, like you only had 3 tapes, and so if you took too many takes, you had to wipe one of the tapes and record over it, you know. And it was fun though. It was exciting because there was so much opportunity, and you started to see that, or I started to see that I could do something with this. Like I could actually go somewhere, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, and there's so much pressure to figure something out. And I thought, well, I could do this, you know. And then you see kids from the program actually getting into NYU and USC and Loyola Marymount to other schools, and you're like, okay, well, I could probably do this. And you just start to build your confidence. So then, yeah, I started to network with other people, I mean, Jesse would come back to the program and speak to the program about his experiences. And so I got to know him. And then I met another young woman from Bellevue, which is about a half an hour east of Seattle. And she had reached out to Jesse and just told him that she wanted to work with him. And she was a young filmmaker, and she was making films like every weekend.
Okay.
And so I started to work on her films. And she was great. She was so creative, so talented, and super driven. And then Jesse had this idea to do a film festival. He said, I made this feature film and it was in theaters, which is great, but what if you make a film that doesn't get into theaters, and where does it go? I mean, this was pre-YouTube, pre-Vimeo, pre-Short of the Week, pre a lot of these film festivals now that have youth tracks. That didn't exist back then. People didn't care about it, and because you couldn't make money off of it. You weren't going to be able to monetize a young person's 5-minute film. And so Jesse had the idea to make this film festival, and Jocelyn, the woman from Bellevue, was on board, and I sort of just hung around until they wouldn't, tell me no. And I didn't have much to offer besides enthusiasm, right, to start this organization. But I showed up to the meetings, and the meetings were in our parents' living rooms and dining rooms, and we had some mentors that helped us pay for the nonprofit fees, and were our first board of directors. Jesse's mom, Kathy, she passed away a couple of years ago, but she did an amazing amount of work just to get all the paperwork started and everything filed and the formation documents. And then we had a nonprofit, and then it was like, okay, great. What do we do with it? How do we get it out there? And long story short, really the log that started the fire, if you will, is that I had gone to college in LA, and Jesse moved back to LA. He was kind of going back between Seattle and LA, and he was down there, and we were hanging out a lot, and we were making shorts on the weekends and entering contests and things. And he had this idea. So there was a radio contest, and it was if you make a commercial for Volvo, and you could win a lease on a Volvo, a 3-year lease on a Volvo. This is the Volvo C30, like their little sporty compact car.
Nice.
Anyway, so we made this commercial, and we I think TJ Williams maybe shot it on one of his first red cameras, the red one.
Wow.
And we got some lights from LMU, and we got an actress that Jesse knew, and we had professional actors and a great loft location, and we made a really great commercial, like a really high quality commercial. And I think I was just like the gaffer on it, right? And, but Jesse made it, and so we entered it in, and it started to get, it was public vote, and so it started to get votes and votes and votes, and then it became a finalist. It was top 3 finalists. So then the radio station has this big contest party at Universal Studios, and I'm like 18 years old. I gotta borrow a blazer and go to Universal Studios, and I think at that point I had my hair bleached for some reason, this awful strawberry red blonde. And we go to this party, and it's clear that our commercial, they play the top 3 commercials, and ours is best, by far, objectively the best. And this other one wins, and it's not good. It's not well made. And it was all public vote, and they had millions more votes, which is probably some early computer robot thing. But anyways, so they're like, oh, okay, congrats, this person won. And then this guy, this director of marketing from Volvo, comes to us afterwards and says, your commercial was really great. We think we might want to use it instead of the other one, or, alongside the other one in our marketing. And we were like, oh, great. Yeah, that sounds good. At this point, I think, Jesse had a few drinks. I was under the legal age, so I had 0 drinks, but we were kind of schmoozing with this guy, right? And we said, hey, look, if you want to use the commercial, why don't you give us, a sponsorship to this film festival that we just started? That could be kind of the deal we work out. And he said yes. And Volvo, Jesse followed up, and they came on board as our presenting sponsor, and they were our presenting sponsor for 8 years.
Wow.
And when you think about a film festival just trying to get off the ground, that was how it happened. I mean, we had no other money. We had no other sponsors. And of course, Jesse went out and found a ton of other sponsors because of that. But that enabled him to move back to Seattle and full-time run NFFTY. And he ran it so well. He did such a great job. growing it into what it is today, bringing on Xbox and Nike and Expedia and Vitamin Water and all these different brands that got on because they saw Volvo was there and because we had the money from Volvo.
Is Jesse the guy you bumped into, Harvey?
No, I was going to bring this up. I work in a restaurant as well in Twickenham where I live. Excuse me. And a guy walks in one time and he's got an American accent. And I was like, oh, I just came back from America. I was in Seattle. And he's like, oh, I'm from Seattle. And I was like, oh, what school did you go to? And I can't remember if he said Ballard, but I was like, oh, do you know Carl Seago? And he's like, yeah, I know him. I was with him when he was starting Nifty. His name was Jesse, but it wasn't that. It was Jesse. I can't remember his last name. I can look at it right now, actually, because it was like just a crazy coincidence.
Was he a white guy?
Yeah.
There weren't that many Jessies around.
I think Jesse's a pretty American name. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person called Jesse. Like the first person I met called.
That's not a British name, huh? Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's weird how these things happen. Like it reminds me like how this guy came up to you in that networking thing after Volvo. I was talking to Harvey. I wanted to bring this up to you when we first met at the BFI.
Yeah.
And that I just remember that so clearly because it was like it's such a vivid like I was my first experience being in one of those types of settings, and I remember we had this like. You were part of this talk where there was a bunch of festival directors from all over the world of youth festivals, and they were all kind of like explaining their festivals. You showed a little bit of work each, and I remember everyone had to show their work, and they all said like it went on to this festival, and you showed a film, and it was like it went on to Sundance. I was like, oh, okay. And then, like after you showed the film, everyone, you could when you can feel that buzz in the room where everyone was just like really like perked up by this film. So then, like, afterwards, I was like, I need to talk to this guy. So then, like, afterwards, I just remember there was, like, so many people trying to talk to you that it had to be, like, everyone just go to the networking and then you can talk to him.
Right,
like, we're going to get there. We're going to talk to him. It's going to be cool. And then we went to the
We waited all night. I remember just, like we need to... Because I still remember watching the film to this day. I remember where I was sitting and just watching it, like, that's the type of short film I want to make.
Yeah, it was funny at that BFI Fest because that was one of the first festivals that I had gone to as sort of a representative of NFFTY, right? Like at that point, and Noel had invited us out, and it was great. And I was thinking the whole time, like, how do I convince people to come to Seattle for this film festival? Like, I'm sure people want to come to LA or New York, but like, what am I going to say that's going to make them think, okay, yeah, I want to skip those places and come to this place in Seattle? But I knew inside, I was like, we have the best festival. Like it's the best, it's going to be the best festival. You can go to whatever in LA, you can go to whatever in New York, but you're not going to have the same experience. And, so I tried to pick the right films that would get people's attention. And then also just, really try and explain or try and capture the magic of what happens that weekend, and luckily there were a few people that were alumni that were at BFI, Alex Campbell and Alex Shipman and a few others, and so they could kind of help explain the experience. But it's so funny trying to market this festival because really only people that are 14 to 24 understand.
Yeah.
And so you're marketing just to them, and then of those people you still have to say, well, like, yeah, I know money's tight and resources are limited, but I think you should try and come. I think you should try and make it. And a lot of those times too, like from that festival, I encouraged a lot of people to submit their films, and some of them didn't get in, and then they said, oh, well, you told me to come to NFFTY. And I said, well, you got to keep trying, there's a lot of other films out there, and here's why we didn't accept yours. But, I think we try and make the experience as real as possible. Like we're not going to try and baby people into thinking that they're the best filmmaker ever, because they're not. And they're going to have hardships along the way. And so, even alumni who have been in the festival many years sometimes don't get in the festival of the film because it wasn't as good as their previous films. And that might be harsh to hear, but it's important that people understand how the industry works. And while we can try and change the industry as much as we can, and we have the power to, the industry is bigger than we are. And and we only kind of are still a slice trying to like make a ripple. But the bigger industry is really reluctant to change and really reluctant to let in the kinds of people that haven't been given access before.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, it's weird. It's the reverse for me, because at that time I was in post-production for my short film Jamal, and like obviously I'd missed the deadline for BFI feature film that year. So like the actor from Jamal told me like, come to this festival, see what it's all about. I'd never been to a film festival before at that point, so this was all new to me, and I was really just learning on the job. And as I was there, like I said, I remember we got in there, and this time, like me and Harvey, we were like 15 years old, and we were just like pooing our pants. Like we could just hear. I remember we were in there was like 5 people surrounding you immediately, and I just heard someone like, can I have your email, please? And it's like just loads of people like that, and it's like so overwhelming when you're in that situation. But the weird thing is, I was there to kind of see what the films were like at BFI Feature Film Festival and how I'd go about doing all this. At the end of all this, the only lasting contact I have from that night is you. And I remember speaking to you. You didn't just kind of give me your email and that was that. But like, I sent you my film, and I remember we had a dialogue for quite some time where you were giving me feedback about my film and improving it. And those improvements are like key in the film now, if I look back on it. And so many people in the industry just don't have time for anyone, you know? Like, but you really took the time to kind of email with me, dialogue with me about how I could improve it. And I think that's the stuff which, you know, is missing, and that NFFTY is kind of bringing to the table, which I'm so grateful for, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. I think one thing that always resonates with me is like this idea that you should leave the world better than you found it, right? Like people say that about nature, like when you go camping, you should leave your camping spot better than you found it, which means if you arrive and there's garbage, you shouldn't leave the garbage, you should pick it up. And so I kind of think about that often, just about my interactions with people and the kind of impact that I want to have. Like it's not just about me, it's about the collective we, like what we can do together to have a better impact than our previous generations did, you know, to leave the world better than we found it. And part of that, I think, is understanding the opportunities that you got, and then capitalizing on those opportunities if you can, and then not only providing those opportunities for others, but providing even better opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't just expect that everyone else is going to get the same opportunity that you got. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that there's those 3 steps, that second step of, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. And then they don't make it to the 3rd step of providing better opportunities for others.
It's perpetual growth. It's all about that.
Yeah. And I think I've always, like, that's where I really feel like I grew up, was taking that jump to that 3rd step of, okay, I was only probably 19, 20, 21 maybe, when I realized that I had already been given so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Like people helped me get into film school. People helped me get on my first film sets. People helped me get my first job. I had dropped out of college at that point, and I was working on a TV show, but people really helped me rise the ranks to that TV show. And I was producing, you know, a big TV show. And so I realized, like, wow, this, I could do anything now, but I got this opportunity because of certain reasons, like because I'm a white male, you know, from a middle-class family. Like there's reasons why this is happening for me, and I can't just keep going without acknowledging that and trying to start to give back. And I think that's what always pulled me back to NFFTY. I mean, I was living in LA, progressing really well, and I could have just stayed, you know, and probably could have given back to NFFTY in some way or another, financially or whatever. But I kept having this draw, like I need to move back to Seattle, and I need to give back, and I need to help the festival, you know, succeed and grow. And so that's what happened. And I think, you know, I'm not saying that everybody has to like abandon their ultimate dream to like help some organization that they feel so connected to, but I think it's important to just have that perspective on things, like to be able to manage, like to juggle your own success with your ability to help others succeed. Because, you know, there's so many phrases you could throw in here, but like a rising sea, you know, raises all boats, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that's true. You know, you're only going to succeed as far as the people around you go. You can't live on an island.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's such a big part of like hearing that, like such a big part of what like Harvey and I want to do with HUFT is like, we know like what it feels like to be suffocated by these limitations, you know, and like then be held back by it. And all it takes is that one event to like let you know that like, it's not going to be like that. Because that film Jamal didn't get into any other festivals apart from this one, any real festivals. Like, and then even like every film I've made, the only consistent theme has been getting into NFFTY. And that's so key, because like I could be embarrassed by it, or I could see it as like, these are the people who's really trying to help me, you know, because there's not enough of people like that. So yeah, I'm so grateful, you know.
Well, HUFT sort of came about because it's like, Raza and I both felt like in London there wasn't enough support for young filmmakers, young artists, or creatives, however you want to call it. So we thought, oh, we could, we have our production company and we could try build something for the youth, a bit like what NFFTY's done. So we look up to NFFTY a lot because it's, it was started in a room, just like how we started at it, or two separate rooms due to this quarantining. But and also because it's all about giving back. It's all about giving back to the youth, because we feel constantly pushed away from a lot of people. Not everyone, because especially like talking about like the London Future Film Festival by BFI, and then obviously NFFTY and all the other youth film festivals all over the world. But we feel like there's nothing else that can give the support to the younger artists. They don't feel like they're ready. They're told to go out in this way only. And I so we sort of look up to what NFFTY's done and what you've done to the community as a kickstart to HUFT.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think one thing that Raz and I were just talking about is anymore, I think because the world's so connected, you can't really get away with doing something that isn't at least somewhat altruistically good or authentic. I think people can sniff that out pretty quickly. And so I think, part of why NFFTY has survived is because people knew that deep down at the core, yes, we tried to get sponsorships, we tried to raise money, we tried to ask people for money, and there's money involved in everything. But it was deep down, it was good. It was meant to be good. It was meant to help. It wasn't meant to enrich the pockets of the people that were working for it. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, is like to maintain that drive for good in a really monetized capitalist world, right? Like, a lot of nonprofits fall to the wayside because they lose that sight of what they're actually trying to do, that they're actually the impact they're actually trying to have, or they just don't really have the impact. Like the impact isn't there. And so people just lose interest in what they're doing. And so I think it's important. And one thing I was saying too is like, I think you can balance those things. I think you can balance your own desire, your own creative desire, your own creative drive to create something on your own with an ability to give back, whether that's by, having younger people on your sets and teaching them how to do certain things, having interns, having people that you bring on, being a mentor. I mean, I don't think you're ever too young to be a mentor. I think people think about like mentors that are in their 50s and 60s. No, like
my mentor is like in their 20s.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think like, I don't know that I have any people that I like that would call me a mentor necessarily, but I think that I just try and be that kind of person for anybody who seems interested in it, because most people that are 12 to 18 aren't going to ask you like, will you be my mentor? But they're going to ask you for help. They're going to ask you for guidance, and they're going to reach out in the way that they know how to. And I think we're so quick to put these labels on things like, oh, you have to be their mentor. You have to call them once a week.
Yeah.
Like, no. Just like when they need help, reach out, think about them, reach out to them. I would not be anywhere without the mentorship that I received as a younger person, and that I still receive. Like that's so key. And so I think NFFTY really, to me, like beyond everything else, the awards, the camaraderie, the parties, whatever, it's about that mentorship. It's about people like you guys getting to come there and meet somebody that might be only like a year or two older than you, but they have had different experiences. They've had better experiences at festivals. They can kind of help guide you in a direction that will lead you to where you want to go. And that's the mentorship aspect that we don't really try and force. It just sort of naturally happens. And I think that's what I would encourage everybody from NFTY to take back to their communities is, I've now had this experience. How can I help others have that experience in a different way, or come to NFTY, in order for us all to build this community? Because like you're saying, like if you're isolated out in somewhere where you feel like you don't have the resources, you don't have the support, you can't bring people to you necessarily, but you can develop the people that are around you into your community, right?
I really do respect that. Yeah, I was saying that's exactly what happened with me after coming to NFTY, and I just made my documentary and I emailed it to you, and you helped me, and that's why I really respected you, and that's why I wanted you to come on this podcast as well to talk about that. And I'm just happy you brought that up. You're very open. I love that, because you like you said, you love giving back to the people, and is that just part of NFTY, or is that something that you want to achieve personally, is just giving back?
Yeah, I think that was the root of what NFTY was. I think we all had different motivations when we were starting it, probably, and I think my motivations then were different than they were now. I think back then I was younger and more selfish, and probably wanted to create something really cool so people would think I was cool, and it would somehow help me become a bigger filmmaker, director. You know, and when you're a kid, you don't really know where something's going to go. You're just like, hey, you're doing something cool, like, oh yeah, I'll get involved. But yeah, certainly over time, and especially when I moved back to Seattle, and really sort of kind of would look around the festival and realize, like, this is different than I thought it was. This is not about, I mean, yeah, it's about the films that are playing on the screen, of course, like that's what brings people together, and that's why we do this, but it's about everything else that happens outside of the theater. That's what really matters. And I think I quickly realized, like, I mean, one of the hardest things to do every year is to provide feedback to filmmakers who ask for it. Like, that takes so much time. So much time. But that is probably one of the more important things. You know, you can say yes to 200 filmmakers and make their day, make their week, and give them this great opportunity, and that's awesome. But they may not learn from that.
Yeah.
Somebody can learn so much if you take the 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour to give them feedback on their film. And I hate, you know, a lot of people in the industry get to a point where they just stop doing that. And I get it. Like, you're busy and you have your own projects and you have your own family, and I don't, there's been people that I haven't responded to, so I'm not perfect either. But
yeah,
I think the more that you can realize that you carry weight to somebody, if somebody's asking you for something, that's because they respect you, and you carry weight with them. You can't take advantage of that, because you may be able to have such a big impact on that person just through that one interaction. And it takes 20 minutes. You know, like, I think just saying no to people is really, really damaging a lot of the time, because it may not even be that they're looking for feedback. It may be that they're just looking for someone to acknowledge them. Acknowledge who they are, acknowledge what they're working on, acknowledge that they made something. Like, this is great. This is a cool project. I don't think it's great for NFTY, but like, good on you for doing this and for completing it. And it's your first film. That's amazing. You know, like that. There were people that I reached out to when I was younger, and they responded. Like, they helped, and they did what I asked them to do. And I think I probably like got lucky in that, and a lot of people don't get that lucky. Anyways, I think that's a roundabout way of saying, I think it's just important that, like what you guys are saying about what you're starting, that you keep that in mind. Like, no matter how big you get, no matter how successful you are, that people look up to you, and you have the opportunity to change a lot of lives, even if you don't feel like you're doing that. Like, I don't know how many lives I've personally changed. I think NFTY's changed a lot of lives, but I think I think if you think about it that way, then at least you realize the gravity of what like your words carry and your actions carry.
Yeah, like Harvey and I have had this conversation before, because like we've been to countless events now, and a lot of times at NFFTY where like you meet like people who are way above your pay grade, feature filmmakers, all this stuff, and you're just like amazed by the spectacle of being in front of a person like that. And you go there and you like email them, and you start to realize a lot of these people who you look up to don't have time for you, you know? And it's like, they probably didn't think that much of it, and they're probably not bad people at all. But it's just like, I think it's very easy to underestimate the power and the impact that you have in your hands when you're not on the receiving end of things. But when you're young, I'm glad that I've just been persistent with it, because there's so like, I'll give you an example. There's a lady I met in the Speed Network in the first year of NFFTY called Jennifer Roth. She's like this big shot producer, and I spoke to her, and me and Harvey were like just, I remember like she was intense, and like after that I emailed her. She was like, remind me who you are and all this. I sent her my script, and nobody read that script, but she read that script and she gave me feedback like the same day or within 2 days. And that, I'll never forget that, because that's like, at that time for me being 15, 16 years old, and someone who's produced like Black Swan is like replying to my email and saying, I liked your script. That is like unreplicable, you know? So me and Harvey are always talking about like, when we're in that position, I don't ever want to be the guy who says, yeah, I'll read this and then never get around to it. Or I don't ever want to, even if it means like I have to make a burner email just to give to 16-year-olds. Like I not in that way, but I don't mind. Like I want to be the guy who's there, you know, even if I'm a million miles away, I want to be accessible. You know, I think that's something NFFTY does this, and I think this is such an important thing in the industry, like demystificating the process, making it like seem less mysterious is so important, you know.
Jennifer Roth is a legend, and she's one of those people that I was talking about that gave me a chance, that listened to me. My first movie I ever worked on when I was 15, 16 was a movie that she produced. And yeah, I was just a PA, but she cared about me. Like she actually cared about me. She actually listened to me. She actually acknowledged me. I emailed her countless times after that, asking for advice or for support or for help. And she always gave it.
Yeah.
Always. She always responded. And that's so cool, man. Like, I don't think that people realize like on the other side of the coin, I don't think people realize how not cool it is when they don't respond.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to put yourself out there and you're going to work in an industry where you're going to be a public figure and you're going to produce things and you're going to want, and your expectation is that you're going to make a movie and people are going to pay money to go see it. You've chosen an industry where people are going to be able to reach out to you. They're going to be able to find you. They're going to be able to acknowledge you because you've chosen to be a public face. If you don't want that, go be a writer and go into your hole and write and put your books out and, you know, be Stephen King and just send bad tweets out. Like you've chosen this for yourself. And, you know, I hate like getting down on people, but you got to do better than that. Like Jennifer is a shining example of someone who has done amazing work, but will never lose sight of how she can help and how she can give back. I mean, she'll fit that speed networking event into production days, right? Like, oh, we have night shoots this week, so I can come today, you know, this year. That's amazing. Like that she's helped so many people do that. She's helped people in Seattle. She's helped people around the world. And it's not that people don't have time. It's that they don't want to have time.
Yeah.
They think that they're too important for other people's time.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been countless experiences I've had over the years that I think have shaped me into thinking this way. Things that people have done for me, things that I've seen and experienced. I mean, not to get too serious, but like one year we had a kid at NFFTY. He was from Eastern Washington, kind of rural area, didn't have a film community. This was probably 2013, 14, maybe.
Okay. Something
like that. So a while ago now. Beckett, his name was Beckett. And he submitted a film. It wasn't polished, you know, it was rough, but we knew, he submitted his director's bio. We knew he was from this rural area, didn't have a lot of didn't have a filmmaker community there. And he got into the festival. We put him in, I think we put him in the Northwest section. So it was all local films. Comes to the festival, super shy, really shy, really had a hard time meeting people. We talked to him, we encouraged him. He showed up to all these different events. At the end of it, you could see that he was more confident. And it was awesome. Like, he was by himself with his parents, but he like, it was great. And then his mom emails us afterwards, and she's like, my son was suicidal. Like, he was so depressed, and we didn't know what to do. We encouraged him to just like pursue some sort of thing that he liked. And he found out he liked making films. So he made this film. It's his first film. Got in the festival, and like, it changed his life.
And
like,
you didn't even consider it.
No, I don't know where he's coming from. Like, I know he's shy, right? Like, but everyone's got their thing, right? Like, everyone's going through something. And if you're a filmmaker, you're doing it in response to something. Like, you don't just write a story because it came to you in a dream one night. I mean, maybe you do, but most of the time you're writing it because it's in response to an experience you had. It's in response to something you saw. It's all cause and effect. And often, because it's such a genuine art form, it's in response to something that happened to you, like, and if you're making a film that's sad, something probably happened to you about that, it made you feel that way. And that's why I love it. I mean, that's why I love filmmaking. That's why I love watching movies, is because I love thinking about where this came from and the real human emotions behind it. But I don't know, that's a long way to say that I think everyone who reaches out to you, everyone who needs help, who asks for help, is coming from somewhere, and they may not have the name recognition or the awards that you have as a mentor, or the success or the money, but it doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't matter.
I love what you just said. You said, like, everyone has their own struggles, their own shit they're going through, and that's something like I live by every single day, and I try to promote it as well. Like, everyone's got their privileges, but everyone's got their disadvantages as well. And it's like so important to recognize that and to understand it and to help them and empathize with what they're going through, whether or not who's got it. This person's got it worse, that person's got it better. Every single person I've met has had something that has happened to them or is happening to them that like makes me feel guilty, makes me feel like I need to do something, which I think everyone should feel, especially in the film industry. It's most artists do come from a bad place. They come from somewhere where they're trying to tell people stuff. Like you're saying, they make it from personal experiences. And that's why I love exactly what you're saying. Like, trying to promote, sorry, what was his name?
Beckett.
Trying to promote his films, and because he came from such a dark place, and now that you've helped him, he's come out of that dark place, or hopefully he's coming out of it. And I just think that's beautiful. It really is. I guess I'd say thank you as well, because that's the sort of thing that Raza and I were going through when we came to NFFTY as well.
Yeah, and life is about these little fleeting interactions that you have with people. We're all kind of dots on this map that come together and go and do our separate things and go our separate ways. And I think as much as you can, you try and make sure that those interactions leave people better, and that you can have an impact, that whether it's very small, it could be very, very small. It could be just like the fact that you acknowledge somebody on the street, to the fact that you shook someone's hand, to, you saw someone struggling and you reached out a helping hand, to showing up for somebody who's having their premiere and, giving a standing ovation. Like, there's all these things that you can do that may not help you at all. Like, they may not help you succeed in your life or garner you any money or fame or attention, but those are the things that are going to make you feel good and are going to make you understand yourself better. And I think we're seeing, kind of on this line, like, I think we're seeing in film now, like, this resurgence of authentic storytelling, like this really big emphasis placed on, and people are like, it's easy to say that it's like diverse storytelling, but it's not. Like, it happens to be made by diverse storytellers, like, that haven't been given opportunities before. But it's authentic storytelling. It's real life storytelling. Like, people who are looking deep inside, like Donald Glover in Atlanta, or Issa Rae in Insecure, or Bo Burnham, 8th Grade. Like, there's these films that, and TV shows and whatever, that are just looking really deeply at, like, what the hell it means to be alive, and like what we go through from different places and different perspectives. And so I think Hollywood and the greater industry is like, oh yeah, like, let's let's give the people of color the time to shine, because that's what people want. It's like, no, that's not what it is. It's that these people are telling really, really authentic stories, and they're making people laugh.
Reality.
Yeah, they're making people cry there. And that's why I think it's really hard. NFFTY is so interesting, because it's like, yes, we have to promote that we are like a diverse festival, but it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Like, because we're a festival of young people, 10 years old to 24, that is, by Hollywood standards, diverse on its face. And then beyond that, we've always had like a great majority, or a almost an equal amount of women filmmakers to male filmmakers, and then, like, racial diversity and all that. Like, we have to promote it, because that's how we help show that we're like trying to right the wrongs in the industry. But that's just been the natural thing that's happened, because we've focused on showcasing authentic stories, because we focused on, you watch a film and you don't just take it on face value and say, oh, this was shot on a red and had great production value and great lighting and the actors are professionals, so yeah, great, it's in the festival. But you actually focus on the story and the experiences behind the story and the filmmakers that must have made that story come to life. So people always ask me, like, what gets a film into NFFTY? That's the answer. I think I said that at BFI too. Like, it's not about just the production value and how much money you have and what resources you have. It's about how you shine through your storytelling.
I think that's something like you hear a lot coming up when people are like, it's not about the equipment you have, and like, it's not about like what you're doing, and then like you type in like award-winning film festival short films, and you just see like a bunch of things filmed in the Array with like Robert Pattinson in it, and you're like, what the fuck? But because it is actually true when you talk about it with regards to NFFTY, because I've been there and I've seen it, and I've seen the wide range of production value films, and films, like there's a couple films last year made at the AFI, and I tell you, I haven't seen many better short films than those. But then there was also some films shot on the iPhone, and both of those really had that level of authenticity. So what you're saying is true, and it's good that someone out there is promoting that,
because people often say that it doesn't matter what camera you have, because they want you to make a film and submit it to their festival. They're like, we want more submissions. We want to say we got 5,000 submissions. We want young people to feel welcome here. So we say whatever you have in your pocket is great. But then they don't accept those films. So it's like, why did you even say it if you don't mean it? Like, and I think a lot of people say it just to get people off their back. They're like, oh, I don't have a red. It's like, no, you're fine. We use whatever you want. Just to get away. I don't care what you use. But for us, like I said, we had those DV cameras in high school. Like, we only had 3 tapes. Like, I just had like such a vivid memory of this nostalgic memory of, I remember there was a film that I wanted to make in high school, and Matt Lawrence, we've got 3 cameras for the whole program. So you have to figure out when you can fit in your schedule to film your thing, and it's usually on the weekend or at night. And I was like, I was a senior at this point, so I needed like, I had seniority, and we were going to make a film all shot at night. So we needed all the lights, and we needed a bunch of tapes. And I was like, all right, we're gonna reserve all 2 cameras and all the tapes that are available. And Matt Lawrence was like, no, you're not. You can have 3 tapes like everybody else. And if you run out of 3 tapes, then you got to go offload the tapes and come back and wipe over them. And I was like, but I'm like the best filmmaker in the program. Why can't I have more tapes? And just that kind of stuff is like, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. You don't have access. You don't have what you need. What are you going to do? And I love it. I love like the ingenuity that comes out of that, right? Like people do such amazing things. And you know, it's funny, and I'll get off this high horse, but I don't like when people like Steven Soderbergh are like, oh, I'm gonna make this film on an iPhone just to
Yeah.
be like cool and kitschy. Like, you have millions of dollars. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because then all you're doing is upstaging everyone else who tries to make a film on an iPhone
Yeah.
but can't make it as good as you because they don't have a 100-person crew.
Mm.
Like, don't do that. Just go
Mm.
make the film you want to make and put it out and make your money, and then give back to people in some way, or lead a class on how to make a film on an iPhone. Don't just upstage everybody else who only has an iPhone, you know?
It's like fake altruism, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird. Me and Harvey, like, we both had to make our final major projects for the last year of high school this year. And obviously the shoots have basically been postponed now, but I'm producing his, he's producing mine. And mine's like an anthology film, and each part is shot on a different medium. And one is shot on an iPhone and one is shot on a webcam. And we've shot the iPhone part. It's like on Instagram Live. And
nice.
Like filming that, it's like in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna look like it's an iPhone, and like they're gonna be like, what? It's on the iPhone, and then they're gonna see it, and but then like you look back at the rushes, and you're like, it just looks like I'm looking at my phone screen, you know? So like it just hasn't got that punch that you expected it to have. So I think it's a weird one, shooting on an iPhone, shooting on a webcam, because you can make an award-winning, great short film on an iPhone or webcam, but it's more about why and what you're doing with it, you know? Because if you're shooting The Godfather on an iPhone, it's gonna look a bit dodgy. But if you shoot like something which actually is meant to be on an iPhone, then it might actually work. So I think that's the thing people probably don't talk about as much, you know?
Yeah, I had
totally. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just let the creative fit the medium, right? Like that's exactly right.
I was having a conversation with Elliot Grove, who's the founder of Raindance and the British Independent Film Awards, the other day. And we're talking about like using the resources that you have. Like, I could shoot my film, or what I have been for the past decade, on this, and I'm privileged enough to have that, you know. And that's what we're saying. Like, as well, you are privileged to have an iPhone that you can shoot in 4K now. So we were saying, like, it is about using the resources that you are privileged to have. And like you were saying, these people who just do it for the looks, or to do it to win the awards, it doesn't give it that natural, honest sort of feeling to the film. Like, we're going to be shooting a feature later this year, hopefully, and that is going to be shot on stuff we can shoot it on because we have the resources on it. So as well, it's about using the right material for the right film. But I really do believe it's about, you know, whatever you can do it with. Like you were saying about the 3 tapes. That's all you had, and that's all you could work with. And, you know, you can do a crowdfunding for £5,000 just to hire a camera out for a few days. But is it worth it when you can probably create the same effect, if not a better effect, with something more natural?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'll say too is I think a lot of filmmakers ask us for NFFTY for advice or for feedback, and the most common thing is that people don't pay attention to audio across the board. And you look at these films that are shot on iPhones, these feature films, you know, award-winning ones, Tangerine, whatever else. They look fine, like they look good. The acting is good, the directing is good, editing is strong, but the audio is good.
Yeah.
And that's why it separates the regular film shot on an iPhone from the professional film shot on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Right? So everywhere I go, I'm always like, focus on your audio, focus on your music, focus on your sound design, focus on your sound mix, because the biggest distraction that you'll get when you're watching a film is thinking, I can't hear that, or that sounds weird, or they didn't even use a microphone, they just used the in-camera mic. Like that's right away, you know, and then you're so distracted you can't think about anything else. So
I was just going to ask you. Sorry, I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
Did you notice that on my film when you watched it? Because we had to shoot on a camera audio because our sound equipment just didn't work. So I was stuck at my desk just trying my best just to like somehow monitor it out.
I can't recall specifically, but I mean, it's happened so many times. You know, like and it's a bummer because I'll see films that I'm like, this actually really is good. Like this has potential to be really, really strong, but you can't hear it. Or they didn't even like put crossfades on, so you like it's just super jumpy, right? I mean, you watch a lot of stuff. Like I'm sure people have, you know, you guys or people that might listen to this have been in quarantine, so they've been watching a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that's not that good, but it's just seamlessly edited, audio wise, right? So that it just flows, and you're like, okay, well, the visuals are fine, and they match enough, and so yeah, I'll do that. Like I hate to bring this up, but Tiger King, right? Tiger King is a fascinating subject, not filmed well, but the audio is great. Like the audio mix, the sound design, really, really good. And they took, you know, a lot of stuff that was handycam, homemade footage, but they seamlessly put it together. Or another one is Chef's Table, the Netflix series. They shoot it really beautifully, but it's really slow. But what keeps it together is the music and the audio. Super high quality, super simple. So I think just the more that people can think about that, that's my 2 cents on what great improvement most people can make today is just really focused on audio. Spend the time learning audio. I mean, it's something that I struggle with to this day. You know, I'll get an interview that's super choppy or an interview that's got interference, and it really affects the vibe, right?
Definitely. I think like even looking back on my projects now recently, the one thing that always needs improvement, I could have spent a bit more time on, is audio. And it's because like when you want to get into filmmaking, you first learn the visuals and then story. Like audio usually is the last thing you think about, and a lot of the time you're kind of like, I mean, it might not matter now. Maybe hopefully one day I can just get like a nice sound designer and a nice like post-production facility to do that for me. But I think it's really important just to kind of bully yourself into learning this stuff sometimes. I was wondering if it would be possible. I'd like to just ask you about, because you've spent so much of your life and your career really thus far just investing time into NFFTY, and like you said, you've really taken a step back from, you know, what you could have spent this time developing into a really big prominent mainstream filmmaker, but instead you've kind of actually just given back for so long. So I was wondering, now that you've kind of taken a step back for NFFTY, if you could explain kind of how and why that's come about, and what it's been like balancing your filmmaking career throughout all of you running NFFTY.
Yeah, sure. It's a good question. I guess first of all, I'll say that I've gotten so much out of NFFTY. So whether or not, you know, certainly I've had to put other things aside at times, but it's not been about sacrificing anything really to me. It's been about what I could do to help the organization, and I've gotten so much out of it in other ways, in relationships with people, in inspiration, and just a chance to be a part of something great. You know, it's like we've all been on a team that has continually won the Champions League. To a reference that maybe your listeners will care about more than the Super Bowl. Shout out Man United, but
get off the
way to ruin a
podcast.
conversation. Way to ruin a conversation.
Oh dear.
We're both Chelsea fans. We're massive Chelsea.
Man,
I was going to wear my Chelsea shirt today.
It was going so well.
I wish I had known. Just wasted 2 hours.
We're getting Sancho, all right? Let me just say that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. He'll play in front of no fans. So, yeah, I mean, I think, just all that to say, I think I've gotten so much out of it over the years. But yeah, it has been hard. I mean, it's such it's an intensive organization to run, and it takes a lot out of each person that's involved with such a small team. And shout out to everybody who's been involved over the years, making it happen behind the scenes. But I think what I've always tried to do is just like continually grow and progress as a filmmaker on the side, because there's no point in me trying to give feedback to filmmakers and be a curator of youth film if I don't know what I'm doing. And I often question that, like, am I the right person for this? do I know enough about filmmaking to be the one making these decisions? And I get imposter syndrome all the time, but I think when you bring the right kind of heart to it, it's not necessarily about like being able to make all of the technical notes. It's about being able to really feel what filmmakers are trying to do or trying to accomplish in their films. For me personally, I've been working on documentaries for the past 8 years. I was in TV production before that, commercial production as well, and just been a full-time documentary filmmaker for the past 8 years, and just kind of continually growing from shorter projects to longer projects to branded projects to series, and working with different collaborators and trying to get grants for projects and work with brands on projects and work with government agencies and things like that. So yeah, it's been like a constant growth pattern that's been really, really great and really interesting. You know, I think you sort of, when you're younger, you set out, or at least I set out to be like, I'm going to make feature films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feature documentaries. And I've only made one film that's over 45 minutes to this day, but I'm okay with that. Like I think I see and understand better now what it takes to actually, what it will take for me to actually sink my teeth into a film that I really care about. And I want to make sure that I'm ready for that. I don't want to just do that haphazardly and, you know, try and pull something out of a hat when I'm not ready for it. So really just trying to like hone my skills in different ways and figure out who my collaborators are that I can count on, so that when it comes time for me to say, okay, I really want to do this project, I can go out and try and find the funding and try and bring in the right resources to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yeah, it's my bad for saying that. It's not like you've wasted your time doing all this stuff.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Like, I mean, so am I right in saying you want to do like feature documentaries still?
Yeah. And I don't think that you were saying that. I think it's easy for me sometimes to get caught up in like the you know, oh, what have I left aside in order to help NFFTY out and be there for this long? Because Jesse did the same thing. I mean, he put his directing career on hold and is only now getting back to having his next feature film in development, and it was supposed to go into production in April, and then a pandemic happens. Like, he's put so much on the back burner in order to make NFFTY survive and thrive. So, you know, I think everyone involved sacrifices something in any nonprofit, really. But you know, it's kind of what you're going to delay in order to make this happen. And so, yeah, I've always had the dream to make feature docs. You know, I have stories that I really am interested in that I've been kind of developing and pursuing. But I've also realized over time too, that there are other things that matter, and filmmaking is a job and a career and a passion. And so when something is all three of those things, you really have to manage it well. You know, you can have a passion that you do on the side and you can kind of stay up all night doing that. But for me, when it's my job and my career and my passion, I can't stay up all night doing that because it'll just run me ragged, and it'll affect my mental state. It'll affect my relationship with my fiance. Like it'll interfere with a lot of things that I don't want it to. I want it to still be something that I get up and I'm excited to do every day. And so I try and avoid like crazy deadlines. I try to avoid getting too wrapped up in projects, just because I want to have a clear head and I want to approach things with a clear creative mind, a clear business mind, and also be excited about what I'm working on. I don't want it to feel like a drag as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not at all a bad thing that you spent now years developing a relationship with people like Sundance. You easily, I imagine, like it would be sick, like to do like, you know, you've got Sundance directors documentary labs and stuff like that, and all that stuff for like you to do. So you've put yourself on a platform. Just noticed I've got all this stuff here. Look, all these nifty wristbands. I didn't even know they were sitting here.
I mean, if I had any sense, I probably would have been filming a lot more throughout all the festivals, and then make the NFFTY documentary. I mean, that's probably what I should have done. And maybe I can still do that, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories out there that I really want to tell, and I'm really blessed to have a lot of a great network of people and collaborators. And I think it's just a matter of actually putting in the work and the time into making the stories that I want to make. And I think for now, I mean, right at this current moment, we're in a really weird place, right? And people are struggling. People are having a really hard time figuring out what's next. And on the one hand, I feel so bad for a lot of people that are struggling. I feel really heartbroken for a lot of businesses and a lot of people who can't make rent. And on the other hand, I feel so fortunate that I am able to still survive and still have work and be healthy. And so I think it kind of helps shift your priorities too. It's like, okay, well, we're all kind of in the same place right now. I don't have to get this done right away. I can keep working on things. I can keep helping out other people. I can put my energy into the fundraiser I'm doing and things like that, that's okay to do that now. Other things will happen as they happen. And I think as much as I can use my voice for good, that's the most important thing. And the other things will fall into place when they're supposed to.
Awesome.
I was going to say, like you mentioned, your fundraiser. Do you want to sort of, I guess you can
I was going to say that too.
Give a little description about what it is.
Yeah. Basically, I was going to run a marathon last week here in Seattle. And I'd been training for it, and everything got canceled. And so I think I am a much better runner when I have a goal to look forward to. And so it was kind of hard for me to figure out what to look forward to. And so a few friends and I, filmmaker friends and I actually, speaking of like developing those networks of people around you, I've reached out to them with this idea to do like a virtual fundraiser where I would run a marathon on a treadmill. And that sort of developed into, everybody's been doing these live stream DJ sets on Twitch and whatnot. So we made it into a challenge where if people donate to the fundraiser, they can add songs to the DJ's playlist. And then I'm going to try and outlast the DJ set live on a live stream. So the longer the playlist is, the longer I have to run, and I'm going to run up to 26.2 miles, a marathon. And we're going to do it all on live stream May 15th, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which I don't know what time that is over there, probably like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. or something.
Okay. I don't even know.
I
don't know what time zone I'm in anymore.
It's going to be late, but it's going to be fun. And we've already raised over $3,000.
Wow. Okay.
And it's all going to Seattle Artist Relief Fund, which is a fund started by artists to get dollars into pockets of artists who have suffered from lost work and need those bridge funds to help them stay afloat. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be fun. We're filmmakers, so we're going to do a multi-camera live stream with smoke machines and projections, and it'll be really fun. And it's all at beatthebeat.org is our website.
We can put that in like the description.
Yeah, we'll
stuff,
put it everywhere and we'll just make sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it should be fun. I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way to the marathon, but I'm going to go as far as I can, and hopefully we raise a good amount of money for people.
Yeah. Nice. So it's a great thing to be doing in this time. But I don't know if Harvey has anything left to say, but I was thinking maybe now.
I remember the name, by the way. It was Jesse Stipek.
Stipek, yeah.
Yeah. So he walked into my Nando's and he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, you from Seattle? Yeah. And then I was like, oh, so do you know Carl Seago? He's like, yeah, I know. We like started NFFTY when we were younger and all that. I was like, oh, and I was just thinking, like, that's crazy. I literally just got back from Seattle at the time as well.
That's funny. Yeah, he worked at Xbox. Or no, sorry, he works for Halo.
Yeah, that was it. It was like an event in Twickenham.
Yeah, and he has two twin brothers, so there's three triplets, and they made films, and they had films in like I think probably the first 3 or 4 NFTYs, and they were like big productions. They got like they did these period pieces mainly of like war stories and things like that, and they were around from the beginning, and they were awesome. They were super talented. They are super talented. I think one of them is a cop now or a trooper.
Oh my god!
Jesse still works for Halo, and they were there. They were there at the beginning. Them and their friend Todd. Todd used to work for NFFTY as well. Wow. He's been around. So that's really funny.
Such a small world. It's so small, especially the film world. Like I've met so many people, and I just run plates in a restaurant, and I've met so many people. Like it's crazy. I was saying this to someone the other day. Like you actually can meet. Like you're saying, like you just email loads of people and you can meet anyone, anywhere. everyone anyway. I've met so many people just on the street. Like, I don't know if you know who Pete Townsend is, but he's like an old rock. Yeah, he walked past me the other day. It's like they're in the street. Like people always go, "Oh, these people, you can't email them."
Like this,
they're not accessible. They're in the street. They're walking the same suburbs.
Yeah, I've got loads of stories like that too, and I think that's what's important, and that's kind of like that's a good wrap up of what we've been talking about. You know, like if you have that altruistic goal and you are a good person, the right people, the good people will help you. You know, like they'll come out and they'll go out of their way to help you. I think it's when you come off a weird way, or you don't have, you know, it's kind of confusing what you're actually trying to do or what you're trying to look for. People then may be more hesitant, but I think if you go out with the right mindset and you really are clear about what you want and you're a good person, you're a nice person, then people will help you.
Yeah.
People will help you.
It's all about having the right intentions, and then stuff just moves. Yeah, man.
Well, thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope we didn't take too much of your time, and I'm glad we got technical difficulties.
Sorry about that.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to wax poetic about my thoughts on the film industry and all of that. And of course, I love talking about NFFTY. So I really I appreciate it. And I hope you guys are staying safe across the pond.
Yeah, you too, man.
Will you be at NFFTY this year?
That's the goal. I mean, we're hoping it's going to happen. You know? We had to cancel the LA event. So yeah, if it's happening, I'll be there. I'm actually scheduled to get married the weekend after.
Wow.
So that's
congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Which also our wedding is kind of taking on a different form, given everything that's going on. So we'll see what's happening closer to, but hopefully the goal was to have a big, you know, NFFTY wedding and then honeymoon kind of thing and all in a row. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah.
Cool. Last thing I just want to say, if you want to tell we call them the hufters and pufters. It's so corny. Nice. It basically means like working hard and grinding. But if you just want to tell the audience, listeners, like where they can find you and like promote anything at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I love hufters and pufters. That's great. So my website is seagomedia.com, and you can also find me on Instagram at actually the fundraiser took over my Instagram, so right now it's at Beat the Beat Run, but normally it's Seagsees, SEAGSEES, and you follow me there and reach out to me with any questions, or if you have a film you want to try and get some feedback on, I'm always available, always open to doing that.
Respect that a lot. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you
guys.
I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, man.
Stay well.
Hope you all enjoyed that discussion we had with Kyle Seago. Please be sure to follow us again and follow Kyle. All the stuff is in the description. And see you soon.